Bray Wyatt is finally the Universal Champion. Welcome everyone to your Enhancement Talent review for WWE Crown Jewel, the Saudi Arabian WWE pay-per-view, the Halloween edition. And for the record, I did not watch all this show. And this isn't going to be a full review, it's just going to be an overview. I watched the real, marquee matches for the most part. We'll go through the Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins match. We'll go through Brock versus Cain Velasquez. We'll go through Tyson Fury versus Braun Strowman. And we'll talk about Lacey Evans and Natalya having the first women's match in Saudi Arabia. We're going to do all that, and that's going to be it. I'm not going to go over anything else because I didn't watch it. But, yeah, that'll be the crux of all this. We're going to start here with what was the main event in Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins. And, the obvious backstory that we all know about with Bray Wyatt and Seth Rollins at Hell in a Cell last month, the non-finish, the referee stoppage. This time they had the stipulation that the match could not be stopped for any reason in this Falls Count Anywhere match. And just to go over it, I will always say the same thing from the beginning, that Bray Wyatt's entrance, presentation, everything, don't change a thing. It's wonderful. But what I will say is this red tint in the matches needs to die. It sucks. And I thought they were just doing it for the Hell in a Cell match, but it appears that they're really going to try to make that like a gimmick for Bray Wyatt, which I get that they want to make him feel different. It comes from a good place, I think. But it's just such an eyesore. It's hard to see what's going on. It's just a headache. It's not good. It's much worse than what they did with Sin Cara when he first debuted. When they had that light, or whatever it was. The spotlight, the gold sort of light. But yeah, getting into the actual match. I thought this match was fine. But it was essentially the same match they did at Hell in a Cell, where Seth just beats on Bray, hits him with every move he possibly can, but can't put him away. So the lack of creativity was definitely there. I would have liked to seen Bray Wyatt have more offense than he did. And, Seth did all his stuff. He did 7 or 8 stomps. Couldn't put Bray away. The no-selling, which I have no problem with. I just also would like to see Bray have a little more offense in these matches. But the finish of this match is going to come with Seth super kicking Bray off of the stage and falling into some sort of stage equipment. I don't know if it was supposed to be pyrotechnics or what the hell it was. But he falls into these bottomless crates. And as soon as he does, sparks fly, and the thing catches on fire. So someone comes out with a fire extinguisher, they put it out. And the way it's set up, you can't see where Bray Wyatt is or anything like that. He's just inside this box. And so Seth tries to get to him, but the thing sparks up again, so he can't get there. And then Bray rises from the ashes, gets behind Seth, puts him in the mandible claw, then hits the Sister Abigail, and pins Seth 1, 2, 3 to win the Universal Championship. And, this feels like a typical WWE move, where they do something that they know is stupid, which is the Hell in a Cell finish. So then when the people complain about it, and it gets such a negative reception, they give you what you want, they just give it to you later than you originally wanted it. Once the bloom was already off the rose, once the appeal of Bray Wyatt had already been, just taken away from all that. I don't want to say that there isn't an appeal in Bray Wyatt, but it's been significantly damaged. And so, once all that is done, then that is when they do what you actually wanted to see. So it just feels like they're like, see, here you go, we gave you what you wanted. Alright, shut the fuck up now. We did what you want, you can't complain anymore. But that's not how it works. It's... And I don't know if this is a good thing. It remains to be seen where they go with Bray Wyatt from here. But they had their chance, and they blew it. And I don't think Bray should be the champion yet to begin with. I didn't think that he should have been put in the match at Hell in a Cell to begin with. But once you put him in that position, you had to either put the title on him or suffer the consequence of delaying that with the investment in that character going downhill. And that happened. There's no doubt about it. That happened. Now, the other thing is that Bray Wyatt was drafted to SmackDown. The Universal title is a Raw title. Seth Rollins is a Raw superstar. The WWE title is also on SmackDown with Brock Lesnar. So what the hell is their plan? Like, is this a situation where they felt like they had to do this and we'll figure the rest out later? Or do they have any sort of plan? Because unless Bray is going right back over to Raw, then surely he's not going to hold that title very long. I could see him dropping I could see Seth getting the title right back. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. But you either have you can't have both titles on one show. You either have to move Brock over to Raw, or you need to have one of Bray Wyatt or Brock Lesnar drop their title to a Raw guy. Which, they're doing the thing with Brock and Rey Mysterio, and if I'm not mistaken, Rey Mysterio was drafted to Raw. So, could Rey Mysterio take the title over to Raw, beating Lesnar for it? I mean, maybe. But I don't know what sense at all it would make for Rey Mysterio to beat Brock Lesnar in any way, shape, or form. Like, Brock Lesnar losses are so hard to come by that I don't see the benefit in giving a loss to Brock Lesnar from Rey Mysterio, of all people. So, I don't know about that. I think it's very likely that Bray could drop the title back to Seth. They could have a rematch and Seth would win. And that would be a terrible idea, but we've seen what they're doing. Like, WWE still thinks that Seth Rollins is the babyface in all this. Even after the whole and the Firefly Funhouse invasion, where we all thought it was a double turn. I thought it was a double turn, but apparently it wasn't. They still see Seth Rollins as the babyface, the same way they always saw Roman Reigns as the babyface, despite the reactions that he would get in the earlier years in 2015 through 2018. So, I think they still see this as a plan in their vision to help Seth get more over as a babyface, which is insane that anyone could possibly think that, but I still think that that's the direction they're heading. So, time will tell. This is really just painful for me to even do, because Bray Wyatt, once he debuted the Firefly Funhouse and the debut of The Fiend at SummerSlam, it was my favorite thing in all of wrestling. And I just feel like it's been watered down, it's been neutralized, it's just been driven into the ground now with what they've been doing. And now they have to play catch up. They have to rebuild it, even though they had it right there, perfectly good to go. But, WWE is going to WWE. So, that's my thoughts on the main event and Bray Wyatt going forward. We just have to wait and see. Bray Wyatt is supposed to be on Miz TV tomorrow on SmackDown. So, maybe we'll get some answers tomorrow. We will see. But, yeah. To go through the rest of the stuff, and I'm going to try to make this brief. I don't intend on being here very long. We're only talking about a few matches. But they opened the show with Brock Lesnar versus Cain Velasquez. And this match was for the WWE title. It was Cain Velasquez's first match in WWE, debuting with a WWE Championship match. And I really enjoyed the style of match that they had. And that it looked legit. It looked like what you would see in an octagon, which, Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez, no strangers to fighting each other in an octagon. So the way they worked this match, I am a fan of that style, and I hope that we see more of it. I hope that they do more stuff like that, similar to what TNA did with Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. That you do this MMA sort of match. Because this wasn't Suplex City Brock. This wasn't the WWE Brock that we're accustomed to. This was the Brock Lesnar that we would see in UFC. This was the Cain Velasquez that we would see in UFC. With, everything just looked good. The kicks from Cain looked fantastic. The struggles they had in the corner, everything looked good. The only problem was that it was short. And maybe, I don't know if it's a difficult thing to be able to work that style of match for a 10-minute match, but I would have loved to have seen it. I would have loved to have seen it really get into some more intense spots. But I enjoyed this style. I liked the match for what it was. I just wish we could have seen more of it. And I hope that at some point down the line, we could see that same style of match again. I would, and, this is a far cry, considering what he's doing right now, but I would love to see Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley have this same exact style of match. Because Bobby Lashley, he has the fighting background. Brock Lesnar goes without saying. If you put Bobby Lashley in this situation, and you have that same sort of match that him and that Brock and Cain had, but you actually let them go 10 or 15 minutes, and, Bobby, because, he's an actual wrestler, instead of Cain Velasquez, who is still very new to wrestling. He's done a few things in Mexico, and he's mostly doing, lucha stuff, though. But if you do Brock versus Lashley in this same style of match, I think it could be a smash hit. I would love to see it. And just let them go out there, just let them work that style, and go longer than what Brock and Cain did. I think that would be phenomenal. But being with what Bobby Lashley is doing right now, I don't think that match will ever happen. I think Bobby Lashley will leave WWE before that happens, because he was sold a bill of goods of the possibility of having that match, being one of the main reasons, allegedly, that Lashley even signed with WWE. And in between now and then, we've had the Bobby Lashley sister storyline with Sami Zayn, the stuff with Lio Rush where he would pose and point at his own ass, and now this stuff with Rusev and Lana. So I think that is a far cry to think that match could still happen. But yeah, as far as Brock versus Cain, I thought it was good. Brock Lesnar is going to win this match in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. It looked like a shoot fight, anything you would see in UFC, and Brock wins with a submission because Cain, after knocking Brock down, is going to try to go for the knockout. He's going to try to get on top of him and just pound away, but Brock, using his legs to maintain distance, and then gets Cain in, puts him in the Kimura. Cain Velasquez taps out. I thought this was fine. I have no issues with it. I enjoyed this. Now, what I did not enjoy was the other attraction match that they had on this show, which was Tyson Fury versus Braun Strowman. And, Tyson Fury, I've heard a lot of good things about him. I don't follow boxing. I don't know anything about Tyson Fury other than what people have said. That, he's this great talker. That's one of the appeals for him in boxing is the interviews that he does there, the weigh-ins and all that, the intensity and Conor McGregor I guess. But WWE, he never had that. Every promo he did in WWE was average to underwhelming. And now we have the actual match. And I expected this to be like a spectacle sort of match. And I thought it would be a fun match. And, it wasn't necessarily bad. Tyson, I guess he hasn't been training to do this wrestling thing very long. That was evident by the way he was taking bumps. And if any of you have ever been to wrestling school, if you have trained to do this, then you know that the first thing that they're going to teach you, and really the main thing that they're going to teach you in the early going, is just taking a normal, standard, flat back bump. And the way you do that, you land on your shoulders, not your lower back, like Tyson Fury did. When I was being trained by George South at High Spots, the old school term is that the shoulders, the arms all going down at the same time. That is the landing gear. Tyson Fury was not accustomed to doing this. So everything that he didn't look good. And, there was a cool spot where he did the Undertaker sit-up thing. That was fun. Braun did his whole run around the ring thing on the outside, and Tyson Fury bumped terribly on the outside of the ring too. I mean, if he's already bumping terribly on the inside of the ring, he's not going to do much better when you're on the concrete floor. So, yeah. But Tyson Fury, as Braun Strowman gets Fury back in the ring, he's going to try to get back in the ring, but Tyson Fury hits him with a knockout punch. Braun falls off the apron to the floor. He tries to get back in the ring before the 10 count, but he stumbles around and cannot get back in the ring. So Tyson wins by count out. I guess you could call it a TKO, whatever you want to call it. At least they didn't pin Strowman, I guess. But yeah, this was there. I didn't really care for it. Now, what I did care for, and I think this will be the last thing we talk about, is the Natalya and Lacey Evans match. How awesome was this? And, WWE gets criticism for this deal with Saudi Arabia, and still, rightfully so. I'm not advocating that. If WWE knew ahead of time, even if they knew they would never have a women's match in Saudi Arabia, you bet your ass they would still take that deal. You bet your ass they would still take that money. They would take that money come hell or high water. So, they still get criticism for that, and that is fair. It is fair to have that criticism. I think it's warranted. But it can't be understated how important this match was. And There were plenty of women in attendance in this Saudi Arabian crowd. There was plenty. I think that this match taking place in that venue, in that country, gives hope to the future of said country. Now, I'm not saying that things are going to change there. I don't know. I don't know how things work there. But it gives hope to the women in attendance there that there could be something greater at some point, because if the Saudi Arabian government allowed this match to happen, then maybe they will continue to become more open to equality. And I think that's, I don't think, I know that that's very important. And the fact that WWE was able to make this match happen, I think they do deserve at least some credit for that. And as for Natalya and Lacey Evans, I couldn't feel better for those two, because for one, I'm happy that they both were able to travel there and be in the ring and performing in front of that crowd, and to be greeted with the reception that they were. And I know that there was a thing about someone, I guess, threw a bottle at Natalya during her entrance, but that's one bad egg in this situation. But the overwhelming response from this crowd was very positive, and I think that's great. And I'm glad that Natalya and Lacey were able to do this. They came in and they left healthy and safe. I'm thankful for that, for those two, and I couldn't feel better for them to be able to do this, and you could tell what it meant to both of them. You cannot wipe the smile off of Natalya's face if you tried. Like, she just was glowing from being able to do this, and that's fantastic. That's really great, and I think it's a legacy-defining moment for Natalya. And Lacey Evans too. Like, I don't want to act like Lacey Evans wasn't important in this, because they both were. But for Natalya, who came in to WWE during the Divas era, not the Attitude Era anymore, but still the Divas era, where it wasn't focused around wrestling. And, her, Beth Phoenix, Mickie James, a few others could wrestle, but they were never given the chance to. And for her to stick with this company all throughout that, and into the Women's Revolution, where it became more centric on wrestling. You got the 4 Horsewomen. You got WWE putting a more focus on the women's division, starting with NXT. Emma and Paige also deserve a lot of credit in that. Triple H deserves a lot of credit in that, for giving them the stage to be able to show what they can do. And then WWE, they adapted. They allowed their women to feel like stars. And, Charlotte, in particular, and all of the 4 Horsewomen, we can complain about Charlotte being overpushed, and I complain that the women's division doesn't have enough depth, and it just feels like it's those 4 women are the only ones that feel important. But the fact of the matter is that they've made women on this show feel like stars, which is something that hasn't been done in any recent time in WWE. And the Attitude Era, there was no woman that was a star. In, I don't know if that's fair to say, because Trish and Lita, they have a great legacy and they have a great body of work to them, but they were never treated as stars. Charlotte and Becky Lynch are treated like stars. Bayley and Sasha are on the fringe of that. So, for Natalya to go through all of that and all of the change in WWE, when that started happening, Natalya was always, the one on the outside of it. And we all know Natalya is a fine wrestler, but I think because she was in the middle of the Divas era, that when we transitioned into the women's evolution, she was kind of forgotten about because the focus was more on establishing the newer stars. But Natalya was still there. She was still capable. And for her to work her ass off for all of that, through all of that, and now to have this moment where, breaking barriers or whatever you want to say, or whatever WWE rhetoric might be, is awesome. It's really great for both Natalya and Lacey Evans, for the women in Saudi Arabia, and it's just a very good thing overall. So, yeah, there you go. I gushed about that for like 10 minutes. I'm sorry. But I thought this was awesome. It's funny that a couple weeks ago I was clawing my eyes out of the 5th Natalya versus Lacey Evans match that I could not care any less about. And now they did this, and I'm all in on it. The match was fine, just to actually talk about what happened. They had a fine match. The crowd was very receptive. There was "This is awesome" chants. And really, that's the big thing. Like, it didn't matter how the match went. It didn't matter who won. It didn't matter if the match was long. It didn't matter if the match was short. It didn't matter if there were botched moves or anything. All that mattered was that it happened. And I'm not saying that any of those things even happened in this match. I'm just saying it didn't matter if it did, because the match already delivered just by it taking place. And so Natalya is going to end up winning this match with a sharpshooter. Her and Lacey, they hug afterwards. Lacey Evans crying very real tears by the seams of it. And yeah, just awesome stuff. Great for both of them. I'm happy that they got to experience that. And that's where we'll leave things. That's I can't really do a grade or anything because I didn't watch the full show. I just didn't really have time. And I just wanted to catch the main portions of the show. And I feel like I touched on everything that really is all that important. At least the main marquee matches. And maybe I'll go back and watch like the Team Hogan versus Team Flair stuff. And maybe the Tag Team Turmoil match at some point. But until then, thank you all for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, or I guess Saturday morning-ish, for the SmackDown review. And everything after that, Raw next week. And yeah, starting to get back on the grind here. And I'll be here for it. See you guys next time.